defining things properly.
Right.
Especially Israel, Jew, Gentile, and Hebrew. So I thought, we'd do a little at a time. But that's all people can absorb. Because people today are not going to believe that there's no such thing as an Israelite who can call himself a Jew. Until you actually, I'll take the concordance. And it doesn't matter which spelling through the, transformation of English from Jews to Jews. It doesn't matter which spelling it is. It's consistent, and it means the same thing all the way through. No matter what year you are in English. Doesn't matter if you're in the 1300s with Wycliffe or 1611 when modern English was formed.
Now, you're trying to prove what point? That Jesus was a Jew?
Well, the whole thing is, he was of the Yehudi, because he was born under the Old Covenant. When the Old Covenant was, that was Moses' law. That was from 1492 to 30 A.D., 1,522 years. But he was born under the Old Covenant. For he was born of a woman, made under the law. When the fullness of time, God sent his son, made, under the law, born of a woman, to redeem them that were under the law. He was circumcised the 8th day, and his mother Mary had to go through the purification ordinances from the Mosaic covenant. The new covenant didn't begin until he died. This is one of the problems they don't get. So yes, he was a Yehudi. Also, the Bible was complete by 95 A.D., about 95 or 96. That's, there's good scriptural evidence, and also you can show that John was preserved. The others have been martyred, but he was still around 30 years later. And he was a very old man, but God gave him the revelation to seal up the book. But what I'm saying is, there was a country called Judea, Iudios. That's the word in the Greek that's translated as Jew. So he was born in Bethlehem, so he was born in the country of Judea. In that sense, yes, he's a Jew. And he was of Yehudi. So he was absolutely, he's not only just a Jew, he was of the royal king line of the house of David of the tribe of Judah. Right, and that's why Eli James and the rest of the world, oh no, Luke 3 is Christ's genealogy through Mary. No, it isn't. Matthew 1 is Christ's genealogy. So I think, but we can get, that would be one that would be several sections down before we get into the genealogies. I'm just talking about basic definitions of words, putting them on the record. And I think, there's just so many things you have to correct about Eli James. It's hard to organize how to do it. But we'll just show why, these people, what I want to get to second, though, after we do the Jew, Gentile, Hebrew, and Israel thoroughly, is show why they're lying to you when they tell you the book of Revelation is fulfilled, all except the second coming of Christ. Why the Rothschilds cannot possibly be the eighth beast. Why the two witnesses have not come and who they are, and the Bible identifies them. Eli says it's the Old and New Testament.
Right. And there are a lot of other biblical scholars, as I've been studying, looking for the graph that you talked about yesterday, and I've seen that there's a whole lot of biblical scholars who maintain that that Revelations rolled out during the Middle Ages, as you said, Eli James says.
Yeah, there's a few basic camps. The preterists are the ones who are trying to say that Revelation is historically fulfilled through events that happened in the Roman Empire. But here's how they confuse the issue. And they brought it up last week with Eli James' show. Yeah, we're against preterism, he says. The preterists believe that Christ returned in 70 A.D. Well, no, that's full preterism. What's partial preterism is the book of Revelation is fulfilled, but Christ hasn't returned yet.
Okay.
The problem is the book of Revelation records a 1,000-year reign of Christ, which you can prove is on the earth. The second coming of Christ is Revelation 19. It's also shown in Revelation 11. See, I've got charts, tables, and I've been going through these things for years. It's just what I'm saying is that there's an absolute chronological order given in Revelation 20, and Eli James says, no, it's not true.
Now, Keith, what...
It gives two different opinions. He said, the 1,000-year reign of Christ did happen on the earth, and that was from 800 A.D. to 1800 A.D.
Right.
Charlemagne and Napoleon, which is ridiculous.
Right.
Because if it was at the time of Charlemagne, that would be the resurrection.
So where on the timeline do you think we are?
Oh, it's getting very late in the game. The signs are coming in. There's no doubt. They're not even hiding what they're doing. But what the reason why they can come out and say what they're doing is because they have the whole Christian church world deceived into believing, that the Canaanites are actually Israelites.
Right.
But that the Israelites are Gentiles. And that's what
Right.
I'm saying. I can prove to you in just a few verses that the Gentiles, 11 verses, like I said, the Gentiles that Paul's an apostle to,
Yes.
they're the northern kingdom. They're
Yes.
the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
And the Jews are the southern kingdom. And yeah, Peter, being the tribe of Benjamin, he was a Jew. He was a true Jew, a true Israelite Jew. The mongrel bastards today who call themselves Jews have no genetic connection to Israel whatsoever. They're seed of the serpent.
Right.
The Bible was over 19 centuries ago. It was completed. We got to put things in the right time period and in perspective and do it by, the Bible and the dictionary. We got to stay with the true definitions of words. You got really two different uses of the word Jew. In the Greek, it's simply geographical. It's just describing people who live in a country called Judea. Herod was an Edomite. He's the seed of the serpent man, but even he could be called a Jew because it's Theodeos. And just take an example. It's the simplest way to do it, by example. Okay, I live in America. Henry Kissinger lives in America. We're both Americans. But Henry Kissinger's the seed of the serpent Edomite.
That's right.
And I'm a son of Jacob, an Israelite.
Right.
Right. So that's what you have to. So we'll go through and get the definitions down, and I'm going to point out and this is hard to do because they don't realize how many lies Eli's telling on his website and with his testimony. And they certainly don't realize why he, as one of their agents, is exactly doing, and they're all doing it, Comparay did it, they're doing exactly what the protocols of the learned elders of Zion said they would do. They need anti-Semitism to control their lesser brethren.
Uh-huh.
You can't get enough people saying, oh, the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. If you define it and you can put it to bed forever, anybody who will actually do the study, they'll see that no Israelite could possibly call himself a Jew today because there's no country called Judea and there's no house of Judah. And that's what Paul's telling us in Ephesians 2 and what was prophesied in Ezekiel 37, also in Hosea 1.
So now there are no Jews and there are no Israelites. There are only Christians.
Well, no, they're still Israelites, because remember, an Israelite is a descendant of Jacob.
Okay, so there are no Jews, but because Judea was turned into Palestine, but there are still Israelites.
Yeah, because you got to separate out the geographical from the race. That's one.
Right, and
it's slow enough to where you'll get it. It's just what I'm saying though is that when God made promises on the new covenant, Jeremiah 31 is very important, right? 31 to 34. That was the prophecy of the new covenant. Here, I'll just read. See, this is what he's saying. See, they just don't have the desire and the patience to read through and go to the verses. They take a verse, and Eli does this all the time. Says exactly what it doesn't say. It says, interpreting, and then it blames the Bible in the translation for his misunderstanding. Okay. Jeremiah 31, starting at 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Now there's a colon there. So he just told us the parties to the new contract, which is the covenant, because the word covenant means contract.
Yeah, that's amazing.
A contract means a lawfully binding agreement between two or more parties, which also has terms and conditions.
And he's talking about,
Now, give you the terms and conditions in verse 33, but first he goes to 32. This verse is not restated in Hebrews 8. But he says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. That's Israel, right? There's no one else but Israel, and it's God who delivered Israel from Egypt. He says, which my covenant they broke, they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. The people have no idea how rich and how consistent all the way through, from Genesis to Revelation, this all is. But this, it says, now this, 33, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. See, now he's talking about the whole house, because house of Judah, house of Israel is just a political division. That's two kingdoms.
Yes, and
in the new covenant, there was no more division between house of Israel and house of Judah.
Exactly.
This is what we'll show by what Paul says in Ephesians 2, beautifully, simply, very clear, if they would understand the history from the law and the prophets. That's why these seminaries do everything they can to twist and distort the whole history and truth of the first 39 books of the Bible.
So the white race, which hears the covenant, we are Israel, is that correct?
Yeah, because Israel's a people, always.
Okay.
Remember?
Okay.
Genesis 32 is when God gave the name Israel to Jacob. And Israel means to rule with Christ.
Very good.
As Christ, a rule with Christ, same thing.
Yes.
They're going to be joint heirs with Christ, who's our creator of this whole creation.
So it's a great lie that the Jews are Israel, and Israel, the state of Israel, is a great lie.
Exactly, and it's leading up to the greatest lie of all times. When their God, the Antichrist or the wicked one, I prefer to start with the wicked one, but when they talk about him being some flesh and blood man, they're out of the and picking minds. They don't know what they're saying. They don't understand the little horn of Daniel 7 and what's being written in Revelation 11, 12, and 13. They don't get it.
Yes, so what we're seeing is the beginning of setting up the Antichrist.
Well, it's been going on a long time, because the truth is, you can go back 500 years, and, the reformers didn't understand that the Jews were not Israel. So we have this whole Protestant, which is just another harlot.
What I meant was, with the state of Israel, we're starting to see a throne being created for the Antichrist.
Yeah, well, that's right. They had to have Jerusalem. That's
Right.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But see, going on, here's the terms and conditions. This is why they've got to understand what words mean, especially if the words of law. Covenant is contract. It's a law. It said, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts. And will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor. What he's talking about here is there's no more Levitical priesthood. You don't have to be a Levite to teach the Bible. He's not saying they won't teach the Bible anymore. He's just saying under the administration of the Mosaic law, only Levites had the authority to teach the law of God. But he says, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. Now, all he's saying right there is we, under the new covenant, became 100% and fully accountable to the law from Zion, the true law of God, which Adam and Eve were under before the fall.
That's interesting.
Right, now he says with a colon, for I will forgive their iniquity and I remember their sin no more. So you got two kingdoms. Kingdom of Judah. They were never divorced from God. Kingdom of Israel, divorced from God, 740 BC, when the Assyrian captivity put the bride out of the house. The unfaithful whore, called the house of Israel, who had followed idols, starting with Jeroboam, for 190 years, God had enough. He sent the prophets like Isaiah and Amos and Micah, and they rejected the truth. And he said, that's it. You'll not be my people. Now that's Hosea 1. That's the Lo-Amite time period, and that's where Paul sends us back to in Romans 9, 24 to 26. Where you could positively prove that the Gentiles he's preaching to are none other than the dispersed and divorced house of Israel.
Yes.
House of Judah, the 3 tribes, not 2 tribes like Eli and all the others keep saying. Levites were completely, and I'll go through I'll show you where the Levites were all expelled from the 10 tribes. Jeroboam kicked them all out, and they all went to Judea and Jerusalem.
So that's nice. That's nice in a sense, because they were sort of saved from getting divorced.
When you broke up on the first word, that's why. What happened is, I can just read, the prophets are not that hard once you get a handle on key things. But here's what he says. And this is what frustrates the life out of me. You can't get pastors that will even go here and read these, because they know that their whole scam is going to come down. But he says, when the Lord said unto him, call his name Jezreel. This is right from Hosea 1. For yet a little while, and I will avenge the blood of Jezreel upon the house of Jehu, and will cause to cease the kingdom of the house of Israel. Kingdom of the house of Israel is no more. You're not a people.
Right.
That was scattered among the nations. They're divorced. Israel, the name Israel, not even on them for 770 years.
Right.
That's how they confuse universalism with the fact that, no, the new covenant's made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah.
Right.
It doesn't have to do with the Chinese or the Polynesians or the 3-toed people over there,
right.
cave dwellers in the Philippines, and
right.
the headhunter bone to the nose people. And it has nothing to do with those people.
Right.
It says, and it shall come to pass at that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Jezreel. And she conceived again. And they don't understand this figurative language, where God is not using a real marriage of Hosea to a real whore. He's describing the whoredom of his people who are already divided into 2 kingdoms.
Obviously.
Yeah, and conceived again and bare a daughter, and God said unto him, call her name Lo-Ruhamah, for I will no more have mercy upon the house of Israel, but I will utterly take them away. That's the divorce. That's
yes.
put away.
Yes.
It means, and Lo-Ruhamah means exactly what it says, no mercy.
Mm-hmm.
But I will have mercy upon the house of Judah, and will save them by the Lord their God, and will not save them by bow, nor by sword, nor by battle, by horses, nor by horsemen. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, remember that means not having mercy, or not pitied, or without love. They all mean the same thing. God hated it. Israel just, he's slow to anger. It took 190 years of their total apostasy and worshiping those golden calves in Samaria and in the north in Dan, all the wickedness of Jeroboam and all 19 kings of Israel, and they all walked in the wickedness of Jeroboam 1. Not one of them did what was right in the sight of God. Not one of them ever listened to the prophets. I'm not saying not one. What I'm talking about, not one of their kings. There were people from Israel who actually did not go along with the rebellion, but that's a detail you have to go to later. You don't,
right. Right.
Anyway. Then said God, call his name. Now when she had weaned Lo-Ruhamah, she conceived to bear a son. Then said God, call his name Lo-Ammi, colon. See, every one of these names is defined. For ye are not my people. Lo-Ammi means not a people.
Uh-huh.
When we go through Ephesians 2, we're going to see Paul just explain that, perfectly to us.
Well, that's amazing, yeah.
And I will not be your God. So they were without God, and that's what Paul says.
Yeah.
They're aliens from the commonwealth. Now, then he sums it up, and this is what he's saying in Romans 9, verse 26. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or numbered. Now, when that's 75 to 80% of Israel is cast off, is no longer in the promised land. Never returned.
Right.
You're talking about millions of people are scattered.
Right.
Right. And you're not talking about all of them like Eli says. Well, they went through this path and they went into Europe. Well, no, a lot of them stayed right in that area.
Yeah.
That's the people in Asia Minor, which today geographically would be the country of Turkey. But anyway, Turkey is not inhabited by Israelites anymore. None of the Middle East is.
Well, they've all been mongrelized so that you can't recognize them anyway.
Yes, some Turks, and then Mongols, and then of course they all mix. So it's Romans 9:26. That's where Paul is bringing us right here to show that the Gentiles are Israelites of the kingdom of Israel, which was no longer a kingdom, and even no longer Israel for 770 years from the time of the divorce.
Right.
But they're still sons of Jacob. They're still Israelites, the people. Their genetics haven't changed. Their status at law before God has changed. He cast them off.
Right.
Now, one day is 1,000 years, so they weren't even divorced for a full day. God was merciful. But what really happened was, in about the last 130 years before Christ, the house of Judah went into total apostasy. They circumcised Edomites and brought them into the congregation. Gone through Hellenization, they picked up the customs of the world, and the Hellene, the Greeks, they were also Israelites. That's another study that has to be done to go back to the formation of Greece through the Danite Greeks and the Ionian Greeks.
Right.
So you have to go and explain how marriage works, the patriarchal law of God. If the Ionians, like they say, I don't even bother to prove these things, but God said through Noah that Japheth would dwell in the tents of Shem. If an Israelite man or an Adam man, even before Israelite, any Adamic man or woman can marry another Adamic man or woman. We don't have to worry about that today at all, because all of Adam's destroyed except Israel. Israel is the only Adamic people on the earth now. There are no sons of Japheth that were not Adamic, and that's why Eli tries to lie about the Slavs are of Adam, but they're not Israel, which is a lie. These are Slavs, the Bulgars are Slavs, and they're Israelites.
But
in other words, you know what I did? You know how easy it can be with just a blackboard and some chalk?
Yeah, well, I'm trying to set up something like that with my movie maker. I'm trying to illustrate your sermon.
Well, I'm just saying, if you think of a family tree, right? You normally draw the trunk and then branches coming on.
Right.
But when they do genealogies, they go from the top down, right? They turn it upside down, right? Well, you got Noah, and you have 3 sons.
Right.
Japheth and Shem.
Right.
And you go to Genesis 10, and you look at the 7 sons of Japheth and the 4 sons of Ham, and then you look at the 6 sons of Shem. And then you get a little bit of wisdom in you, and you say, hey, guess what? There's only one genealogy, and that's the one that goes from Noah to Shem to Arphaxad to Eber to Abraham that has a timeline on it. That's the only one where the descendants and the ones after are named.
Well, that's very nice. That's a very nice point.
Yeah, and the other real big point is Noah's still alive for 58 years after Abraham's born, even though he's his great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. 10th generation from Noah is Abraham, and Noah's still alive. And yet when all the saved, you see, Abraham lived and died before there was an old covenant or a new covenant, right? Yeah, same thing with Isaac, Jacob. The old covenant didn't come about to the days of Noah, which is 630 years after Abraham. So, what I'm saying is, we know that Noah is a righteous man and a saved man, and he's in Hebrews 11. They call it the Heroes of Faith chapter, the modern church. They always have these names. But why are they all gathered into Abraham's bosom? Why is it called Noah's bosom? Noah died before Abraham, and Noah's a righteous man.
You just told me that Noah lived longer than Abraham.
Well, no, what I'm saying is everything points to Abraham as being the main man of the Bible.
Yeah.
Or even the gathering place for the righteous, because Noah was already there. It's just named after Abraham. Noah died before Abraham.
Okay.
Noah lived 175 years before he died, and Noah died when Abraham was 58 years old.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question. Did God give the covenant to Noah after Abraham was born?
No, it just reverts back. They're holy prophets since the world began. It's just that what God did is he took by foreknowledge and predestination, he took this righteous man Abraham and he formed a people of his own out of his seed.
Okay.
And the prophets before Abraham, Enoch, he'll be in the kingdom. Noah will be in the kingdom. Righteous Abel, he'll be in the kingdom.
Right.
Rest they don't talk about. See, we don't even know whether Adam himself will be in the kingdom or not.
So when...
it looks very bad for her.
So at what time and to whom did God give the first covenant?
Well, the first covenant really is the dominion covenant. Adam, you're my son, I love you, I'm giving you my entire creation, because that's what we're being brought back to. And Christ said, fear not my little flock, it's my Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom.
Yes.
And they're heirs of Christ and joint heirs with Christ. That's the original condition. Adam, you're my son. You're above all my creation. You're above all the creatures of the earth who are earthy. That includes the littlest mole on up to 2-footed speaking, men.
But that was before Adam defected.
We got to go into it a little bit. What I'm saying is that God had a mortal creation on the earth. Adam was not of the earth.
Right.
That's what the first verse is. In the beginning, God created the heaven, singular, and the earth. And the heavens are not complete until Genesis 2, after Adam's completed. Because remember, the angels are heavenly creation. They're not earthly. It's the same thing with Adam, and they don't get that.
Right.
They think that Adam began as a flesh and blood man. That's not possible. He was not mortal.
Right. Right.
God said, if you do this sin, in that day thou shalt surely die. It was conditional.
Yes.
Adam fell into mortality, and that's exactly what Paul's saying when he says we have borne the image of the earthy.
Yes.
And that's exactly what Hebrews 2 is saying when it says that Christ partook of blood as the children did also. In other words, God himself, and there's only one God. The whole Trinity, the three gods, it's all just crap.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one God. But he incarnated. That's why he's begotten, the only begotten Son of God. Begotten means born to a woman.
Mm-hmm.
He had to come down into this polluted world and partake of flesh and blood to be our kinsman redeemer, because it had to be a perfect sacrifice and no man could do it.
Mm-hmm.
Only God could do it himself.
Mm-hmm.
He spilled the blood, he ascended into heaven. He still has a flesh and bone body, just like he showed them in Luke 24.
Mm-hmm.
Handle me, see that I have flesh and bone. They were afraid.
Mm-hmm.
There was a man standing before them who they thought was a spirit. They couldn't recognize Christ. Then he showed them his body. He said, handle me, I have flesh and bone. Christ is still sitting on that throne, and it's the throne of David. And it's in heaven. It's not on the earth.
Ah, very nice.
And so that's the whole story about David. He's called the branch, and it's all capital, B-R-A-N-C-H.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes into the story of Jesse, who's the root and the branch, because Christ is both the creator of Jesse, and Jesse, of course, that's the father and son. Jesse's the father of David, right? And David is the picture of Christ. So in other words, Christ, actually, who's God, is born into the exact genealogy of the kings descended from David of Judah.
Right.
It's really not as hard as they make it. They just have so many false... there are no good pastors out there that I can find.
Mm-hmm.
There's some better than others, and some have some real gems. And I've found deep pockets of research into things, about sabbatical weeks, and just things that would be way down the page on what to study.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get the basics first.
Right. So what were the 4 words? When you called me, you said you've been studying 4 words today. And you wanted to get the definitions for them. And I think one of them was Jew, but I may be wrong.
Yeah, when I first started talking to you?
Yeah, you said you've been working on 4 words today.
How to explain what I'm just talking about. What we've got to understand is how the word Jew is used.
Yeah.
Now, Israel, it's a name. Israel is Jacob, and also all the descendants of Jacob.
Okay.
It's that simple. It's always a people. That's Israel.
Right.
The complicating part is, for all these centuries, they've been teaching that Jew, Hebrew, and Israel are all interchangeable.
Right.
In other words, if you're an Israelite, you're a Hebrew, meaning there are no other Hebrews who weren't Israelites, which is false. There were lots of other Hebrews who weren't Israelites. And then they say, well, Jew and Israel, and then you point out, well, Abraham was not a Jew. And they go, I know, but he's the father of the Jews. I said, well, that's not good enough. we've got to go a little further, because we're not talking about anything with the word Jew that's other than a political, a proper name given to a political subdivision of a people called Israel. That's the simplest way I can say it, but that's people's things go up. But in other words, all Jews in the Bible we're talking about, from 2 Kings 6 to Matthew, are Israelites.
Right.
When you start with Matthew, we have a Greek word, and it doesn't exactly mean the same thing. It's talking about the people who live in this country called Judea.
Right, the Judeans, or what you call the Yehudi, or something like that. The
Yehudi was for House of Judah. Iudios is the Greek, which means the country of Judea.
Iudios means the country of Judea, okay.
And when you do simple studies of the Bible, and Christ confronts people and calls them a generation of vipers and serpents, and you look up the word, and generation means race of serpents, and you understand the simplicity of the Bible, that the whole breach came in through Satan the serpent when he beguiled, which means wholly seduced Eve. That's your first mongrel, Cain.
Right.
That's your first tear.
Right.
Right. And Adam's responsible for it.
Right.
And Adam's a family. Adam's not a man.
Okay.
The first man of Adam is called Adam, but Adam's male and female created he them and called their name Adam.
Oh, okay.
Adam was the family tree placed in the garden who were the very sons of God. Son of God, the first one. But he procreated with Eve, and the problem is, though, Adam was son of God but lost sonship. So all those born from Seth on down, none of them were sons of God. It wasn't until Christ's atonement and redemption that they could be called sons of God. And see, these deep things, they go right over their head. They do not understand the significance. Because if you read Luke 3:38, it does the genealogy all the way back to Adam, and it says Adam was son of God. Then you come to John 1, and it says he was in the world, and the world was made by him. See, there's Christ, one God. Christ is the creator, not the Father creator. And
right.
The world knew him not. He came unto his own. So don't believe Eli and all these people are trying to tell you that all these Jews were Edomites. They weren't.
Right.
And his own received him not.
Right.
But as many as received him, so some did, a remnant did, to them gave he power to become the sons of God.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And Adam was son of God. Doesn't that show us that Adam lost sonship in the fall?
It's simple as it can be.
The atoning blood, he gave us power to become reinstated as Adam again.
Right. Right.
Dominion. Well, the dominion won't be full until the resurrection of the body. That's why you have to teach the adoption. That's Romans 8. There's a spirit of adoption. That's what he gave him here, the spirit of adoption. And in Romans 8, see, the definitions are actually, you don't need college at all. You just need to believe this book. I mean, I don't mean you, I mean one.
Well, I think that's true. I've noticed some very, very intelligent people don't have college educations but have studied the Bible.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I had a college education. I consider it a liability. It took me 20 years to get over all the lies I learned there. But anyway, it says 23, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves, grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, comma, to wit, comma, that means we're going to get the definition, the redemption of our body.
Okay.
And if you learn enough Bible, you can go to 1 Corinthians 15 and see that the redemption of the body is the resurrection, and that's right at the second coming of Christ.
And that means that we will no longer have blood, we'll be full of light.
We'll have flesh, bone, and light.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And there's plenty of ways to prove it. See, everything has to be proven. Our people do not know how to do proofs.
Right.
That's the serious part. You can do a perfect proof for somebody, so they can't understand the thing you're saying. They don't even believe in proofs. But when God gave the simple explanation of the parable of the wheat and the tares, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man, that's Christ. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one, semicolon, the enemy that sowed them is the devil. He's telling you who sowed them. He's defining the wicked one as Satan, the devil.
Right.
He Satan here, but the devil is Satan. You do that from another proof.
Right.
The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burned in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world.
Right.
The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things. And if you go back to the parable, that's the tares are gathered first.
Mm-hmm.
Much for your rapture crap, pre-tribulation rapture. And which do iniquity. Those are the Israelites who don't obey Christ.
Right.
It's all people, actually, that don't obey. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. This is about eternal damnation here.
Right.
And he says, then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear.
Right.
And had a body of light, flesh, and bone.
Very good, Keith. And I think you're the only one that has ever made that point. Do you agree with me?
No, I'm not the only one. On Manson Island, I've picked up things from other men here and there. I'm just saying that I can't find anyone identity who actually didn't go into a major heresy.
Right. So this idea of yours that you've expressed to me, which is that Adam was of light before the fall, and then he became of blood, and that we, upon our redemption, will no longer have blood in our bodies, but our bodies will survive with light. This is not original to you. Am I right or wrong on that?
No, I'm trying to think of identity pastors. Some of them got part of it right. I'm trying to think of, in fact, the one I was under, Jerry understood some of it with it, but what I was just trying to say is that, the Bible just seems so disjointed to people. But actually, if you know how to rightly divide it, then you can, and you understand fundamental issues of law and precepts,
right,
then you can see where it's perfectly consistent. There's no contradictions whatsoever.
Okay.
And you can go through law, and then you can understand the creation that God created was good. Eli tried to say, he said it was good, not perfect. Well, guess what? God is perfect. His creation was perfect.
Uh-huh.
God didn't sin, Adam did.
Right.
God also knew that Adam would.
Right.
God's a great planner. He knows, you think about it. If God created, there's a world of old that perished, that people will not believe, but it's true. It can't be Noah's world. He said, men are willingly ignorant, and this world perished. And that's not Noah's world, because the world didn't perish in Noah's day. And men are not willingly ignorant of Noah's flood in the ark. He was talking about a creation where there was life on this earth. Satan was the covering cherub. His name was Lucifer. Everything was good, and then iniquity was found in him, and he rebelled against God then.
Right.
Other theories about maybe he did mix the gene type of whatever happened, that whole world was destroyed, and there was no life on this planet. And that's where you come to in Genesis 1:2. Genesis 1:1 is simply talking about God created the heaven, singular, and the earth, a place for life. And Isaiah 45:18 says he did not create it in vain, but to be inhabited.
Okay.
When you do the word study of tohu and bohu, you'll see that God did not fail in his creation. Lucifer rebelled and destroyed the creation that God made, and that's what he's still trying to do today. He wants us to all generationally marry.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Because Lucifer doesn't...
Balak.
Lucifer doesn't like Adam, right?
What's that?
Lucifer does not like the children of Adam.
That's right. He wants to destroy the heirs.
Right.
He actually wants the heirs to follow him and destroy themselves.
Yes.
So every issue in this Bible, and I just swear it up and down, but this is the law. Every issue and every conflict, if they understood the law, could be resolved.
Yes.
We can't know the truth, and the truth can set us free, but we don't see it as the law book anymore.
Right.
Including interracial marriage, including what laws under the Mosaic Covenant are done away that we shouldn't go back under. That's
right.
Right there, what Eli's teaching about,
Right.
That's about getting the yeast out of your cupboard and all this stuff.
Right.
Well, I thought that's the whole thing though, Mona. See, if you do the definitions and you look up the word and you read it, you're talking about some time involved where people snore and go to sleep because they don't care. If you get right into the action and say stuff like this, like I'm telling you right now, and then it gets a little bit exciting
That's right, Keith.
They don't really believe it.
That's right, Keith. The way you present it is very exciting and alive, and that's why I'm so interested in recording you, because I noticed it the minute you called up RBN, and I noticed they wouldn't let you talk, and I thought, why are they silencing this vibrant voice?
Well, RBN's not the least bit interested in the truth. Yeah. There isn't one Christian host on there, save Bruce McCarthy, and he's got a lot of problems because he's focused on one area of the law and doesn't see the rest of the law at all.
Uh-huh.
So I'm more of a generalist.
Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't have the details of the money. I can't tell you every coin and do it for you like Bruce can, but I know the whole issue. But see, Bruce, I've been going through this battle with another guy because he's saying, well, Bruce is going to give us some solutions. And I'm saying, well, I think I know what his solutions are going to be. And it's always the same lie. He says, you know, the critics bring up this thing about the gold and the silver, and he said, and he knows who the Edomites are, but he won't say that on the air. He just says that these bankers own the gold. They do not. They stole it.
Right.
Which means by fraud, which is against law, but Bruce doesn't seem to understand that the Edomites aren't under God's law, and they never can be.
Uh-huh.
They never will be.
Uh-huh.
They have it, though. It's in their possession.
They don't qualify for God's law. Right.
Well, that's right. They can't even hear him.
That's right.
As intelligent as many of them they are, this is spiritual battle.
And I know it's true. And I'm sure
you don't have the Spirit of Christ in them. That's why you have to know the law. The covenant law says, I will write my law in their hearts and in their minds, and that was only to Israel.
Right.
It's not the blacks and the Chinese who are not the evil ones. The evil ones are the seed of the serpent.
Right.
The evil ones know how to corrupt the blacks to use them against us.
Right.
Know how to get us to intermarry with themselves and the blacks in here. They want to mix everything.
Right.
And this Tom Gamble idiot comes on the air and he's talking about how by technology they're going to make everybody into one, mulatto gene type. So we come back and, I said, wait a minute, we've been trying to talk to you about God's law, who Israel is, and interracial marriages. So you're saying that these evil people, that you're sure you know who they are trying to mix all the seeds so we have one, homogenized race,
one tan race, right.
Mixed race.
Right.
So in other words, you're saying that the evil people you think you have defined and you identified, you know who they are doing it scientifically. God's law says no interracial marriage, which you won't believe or look at.
Right.
Isn't that the same thing?
Yes.
This guy can't get that even.
Right.
And then he's out there preaching every day for 3 hours a day on microeffect. But RBN, Genesis, microeffect, they're all tools of the devil.
Right. Right.
There's one little glimpse of one corner in Bruce McCarthy on Sunday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Right.
It's the only part of any truth you're going to hear on RBN. And it's the ugly truth. And I knew this guy, Mark Glenn.
Oh, Mark Glenn, yes.
Michael Collins Piper.
Now, I think Mark Glenn is an Islamic, frankly. That's what I think.
I know he is. His mother's Lebanese. He's a bastard.
I see.
He's a cancer. And his mother's a nice woman.
Uh-huh.
Remember, I said, I had dinner at their house. She's very nice. I don't hate her.
Yeah.
But her father didn't know the law, and he did the same thing as Esau.
Right.
Oh, he's a bastard son named Mark Glenn who gets on the radio and says Abraham was some wild-haired lunatic, raving and insane in the desert, drooling and penniless.
Yes.
No, Abraham was a friend of God. Abraham was the most loved man in all of history in the Bible, so much so that he made an everlasting covenant with him and his seed.
Yes.
And see, and then they got these people go, Michael Collins Piper, say, oh, you're so wonderful, and he said, he doesn't know a word of the Bible. He doesn't understand any of it, and Mark Glenn can't.
Right.
Now, I don't know if Piper's an Israelite or not, because you get into a more complicated issue. Were there Israelites in North America? Were the Cherokees actually descended of the 12 tribes? They did have, a lot of them had blonde hair and blue eyes.
Well, according to the Mormons, they were descendants of some people that left Israel and went to North America. I think it was during Zechariah.
Here's the complicating. This is why you have to think about these things. The enemies of God, like Joseph Smith,
right,
they'll use something that has an element of truth in it, and they'll totally distort it.
Absolutely, but that element of truth is very important if it's true.
Well, it is, because there are over 200 sites of ancient Hebrews being here.
Yeah.
Like I said before, that Los Lunos stone, New Mexico, had the Ten Commandments written on it.
There you go. Very well. That was nice. You cleared that one up beautifully.
Ancient stuff. Well, there's a lot more. I told you about Newark, New Jersey. I lived 5 miles from the Serpent Mound.
Uh-huh.
But you also have to separate out, just because Israel are on ships and traveling to North America and mining out a copper mine north of Lake Superior.
Yeah.
3000 BC, the time of Solomon.
Sure, that's possible.
Well, at the exact time, the mineral wealth was coming to Israel. They had all this gold and they had silver and copper beyond it. They were the richest. This was the most magnificent kingdom ever established on the earth.
Sure.
We even did it by warfare. See the symbolism here, the picture? When Christ comes back, he comes to judge and make war. And David made war on all the heathen nations around him.
Yeah.
Subdued them, established the kingdom, even expanded the borders a little bit.
Right.
Brought peace in. Of course, that peace was only going to last a few years. When Christ comes, it's going to be an everlasting kingdom.
Right.
But the age to come is divided, really. It's all one age, but it's divided into 2 ages because of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. God does allow some of the serpent seed, because he's not going to judge them if they repent, and they can only do a partial repentance. But God is not going to wipe out all of the Canaanite peoples. Not. But there's going to be another rebellion at the end of the 1,000 years. This is what Revelation 20 is talking about.
Right, I see.
It's right. It's perfectly clear, non-symbolic language. It's a chronology. Christ comes, Revelation 19, judges, makes war, judges in righteousness. That's when all the wicked are rooted out.
Right.
Okay, and then you have Michael put the chain, that's the only figurative language, the chain on Satan. It's probably not a metal chain. How are you going to bind a spirit with a metal chain? Whatever the chain is,
right.
He's going to bind Satan and cast him into hell.
Right.
And then he says that's when the resurrection of the just or the blessed happens. That's when we go before the judgment seat if we're saved.
Right.
That's where we're given our good reward.
Right.
Some will be given, the rulership over 30 cities, some 60, some 100.
That sounds like a lot of work.
Well, it's going to be a judgment, but there's 2 judgments, and Eli James will not recognize that.
Right.
The rest of the dead live not again till the 1,000 years were up.
Right.
But in the meantime, when at the end of the 1,000 years, now you have the battle of Gog and Magog. Gog and Magog is not the Armageddon battle we're talking about before the second coming.
Okay.
That they prepare for to fight against Christ. That's not the same event.
Okay.
Well, and then after that, God makes short work of that too, brings fire down on the rebellion nations that are tested and tempted by Satan and follow Satan. They're destroyed.
Right.
You're going to have perfection. The white throne judgment, you're going to have the dead that were not saved in Christ are going to be resurrected to a mortal body, not immortality. They're going to stand before the white throne. The books are open, that's the Bible, and the book, which is the book of life. And God's going to show them where their name was blotted out, and by the books of the Bible, going to show them why.
Right.
And then they're cast in the lake of fire, body and soul.
Right.
A mortal body is going to be, they're going to live in a mortal body that they could have cast off. They received the immortal body that their first father Adam had at first before the fall, had they just followed the law of God.
Right.
They didn't done it, but we don't have any teachers of the law anymore.
Right. That is correct. I'm not just saying right. I'm understanding.
I thought if we just slowly take, maybe an hour or so.
Yeah.
Jew, Gentile, Hebrew, and then the name Israel, and show how it takes some looking on. You just can't homogenize things.
Right.
We'll show you why.
Okay.
Even 1,000 years after Moses, Nebuchadnezzar is probably a Hebrew man. I mean, he's right there in Babylon, the land of Chaldea.
think
They
that
had lots of, cousins, brothers, sisters, other family members from that branch called Hebrews.
I think Nebuchadnezzar's a white man because he acted like a white man. He gave them all their stuff back.
Well, not only that, but God chasteneth whom he loveth. He was God's servant. Cyrus, the Persian, he was a white man.
Right.
Alexander the Great was a white man.
Right.
Most of the Caesars of Rome were also white men, and they were all actually, Nebuchadnezzar and Cyrus were not Israelites, but they were Adamic men.
Yes.
But Alexander was no doubt an Israelite.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Caesars. I'm not saying that some of the Caesars, it's just like the popes. Some of them are actually Israelites, and some are Canaanites.
Yeah.
In recent centuries, I think they've all been Canaanites.
Right.
How far I can't prove, but I know the last three at least. This one, now, I haven't seen anything. I've seen a little bit of his genealogy, but no proof. But the guy's not an Israelite.
Yeah.
Ratzinger was not an Israelite.
Hmm.
He was a Canaanite, but we lump it all together and we just call them Jews,
Right.
You got to get rid of this whole idea about Jews.
Well, I think you're right, it's going to be very hard to do. But I think
Yeah, well, we can state it and do it in detail enough where they can look it up. And I can do a proof where there's Israel are God's covenant people. The Abrahamic covenant was everlasting, and God swore an oath that he'd never break it, so it can't be broken. I could show where Paul and Peter, the apostles, confirm it, or the words of Christ confirm it. And then we can do the study and show how the word Jew is used, and why we're really only talking about a family called Israel.
Right. The EU, what did you say in Greek? Eudium.
Eudios, yeah.
Eudios, right.
2453 in the Strong's Concordance in the Greek dictionary.
Right.
Then you go to 3068 in the Hebrew for Yehudi. And it's so much simpler than so many things you can think about, like trying to understand the Internal Revenue Code.
Yeah, it's a lot simpler. I agree with you, and it can be done. It is doable. It is teachable to show that the Jews, the people who say they are Jews today are not Jews, and in fact there are no Jews because the house of Judah was destroyed by Rome.
That's right.
Right.
And then simple things that Christ says, okay, my sheep know me, they hear my voice.
Right.
Okay, when did these people who say they are Jews ever hear Christ's voice?
Never.
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 Okay, now in modern times, some of them invade, they're called the Messianic Jews and all this.
Yes, but they still don't understand normal ethics.
No, but they could never understand the truth of Christ because it's not being taught in the apostate churches today.
Right.
Remember, the churches are in full-blown apostasy
Right.
in the late hundreds.
Right.
160 years after, there's nothing you're ever going to get that's true in a seminary or in any kind of dispensational church or the false covenant theology church where they say, oh, that's right, well, the first covenant was a covenant of works, but now we have a covenant of grace.
Right, which is totally not even, it doesn't even add up at all.
It doesn't stay with the definition because covenant's contract. You can't have a covenant of grace.
That's
if there
right.
was a covenant of grace, it would have to be a covenant where the terms and conditions are grace alone, and you'd have to have the parties named.
Right.
You've got to have both elements to have a covenant.
That's for sure. That's right.
And you look up the word covenant, you'll never find a covenant of grace in there in the first place.
Right.
Right. It's a new covenant made with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, where God said, I'll write my law in their hearts and in their mind.
Right.
The internalization of Christ, and the other part of that study is the Holy Spirit dwelling in you.
Right.
That's what Christ exactly was, and they didn't understand it.
Right.
When he stood up before him and he said, Son of Man hath power to forgive sins on earth. That was blasphemy to them. Christ knew it would be blasphemy to them.
Mm-hmm.
He knew they would never understand that it was true because he came to be crucified.
Right.
And the same thing with the Sabbath and the other things he did about tearing down the temple. And you go back, you do the research, and you see exactly what he was talking about. That body was a tabernacle, a dwelling place for Almighty God.
Right.
That Almighty God loved his son Adam so much that he actually incarnated, became flesh and blood, was born to a woman, begotten Son of God, so he could die to save his son Adam.
Right. He had to undo what Adam did.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story. Romans 5, we'll get into it. Romans 8, original sin. The first man brought sin. The second man, the quickening and life through the Spirit.
Right.
It's Romans 5 and 8, but you have to read 8 together with 1 Corinthians 15, and you'll see almost all things about race, about the covenant, about redemption, adoption. I'm not saying those two chapters are everything. I'm just saying when you read them together and then you go to the other epistles and you go to what Christ said and you go back to the law and the prophets, you can put it together where you know you have the truth.
Right.
It's a consistent book. It's not filled with errors and mistranslations. These compares and Eli James, they're destroying souls because every time they open their mouth, everybody who listens to them, believes them, doubts the Bible more and more.
Yeah. That's
exactly what Satan did in the beginning.
Right.
He contradicted God. Eve was saying, "We shall not eat of the tree.
Right.
Thou shalt surely die." And Satan says, "Thou shalt not die."
Right.
It was contradiction of what God simply stated in the law.
Right.
And so Eli doesn't know the law at all or how to teach it, but he's not one of us. He's an agent of Satan sent in to do this to us.
Right.
Right, so anyway, so we could do a basic, just put it down on recording, and people I know, they cross their eyes, they don't want to hear about it's this number. It really only works if they all have their concordance open and look at it and read it themselves, but if we put it down on an audio, then they can go back later and get the concordance or get online and get one and look it up and see that what we're saying is true.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so...
Okay. Well,
if you want to start tomorrow or whenever, should I?
Yeah, call me tomorrow.
All right. What do you think's the best time?
This is a good time. I just can't guarantee because I'm so unreliable to